Europe is at a crossroads. It must act now. A €1 trillion future is at stake.
I dream about us thriving as a society and not constantly trying to go through survival modes.
We have to be aggressive. Maybe even more importantly, we need the right ecosystem, and Europe has so much to give.
Europe in particular, with our set of values.
We can all build something really, really strong together and quite independently from other parts of the world.
Well, good morning, Slush. It's great to be back. And every year this stage feels so meaningful. But this year, it feels essential. Europe's standing at a crossroads. We're living in a period where technology is rewiring everything we know, a once-in-a-century shift. And Europe now needs to choose the path forward, to decide the future we will build or have built for us. It's no wonder we've seen an awakening across Europe, confidence solidifying, ambition rising, execution accelerating. There's never been a better and more exciting time to build. And I think that's why we all feel this urgency. It's why EU Inc. has rallied our ecosystem, why President von der Leyen promises to make Europe worthy of our builders. Because the consequences of inaction are simply too stark to ignore. It's also why frictions never felt more frustrating. The rest of the world isn't standing still, as we know. Global competition feels relentless. Yet at home, we've imposed structural barriers in the way of our own competitiveness, putting trillions of euros of future unrealized GDP at risk. We don't have the luxury to move in slow motion. We have to move faster, bolder, at continental scale.
Let's start with the good news. Despite all the turbulence, European tech is going strong. We've added $1 trillion in value in just 2 years. So no wonder that every conversation about growth leads back to tech. And we keep adding jobs too. The European tech workforce is now 4.6 million strong, far outstripping the broader economy in job creation. And this year marks an all-time high in entrepreneurial activity. A record 27,000 founders started new companies, the biggest wave in entrepreneurship Europe has ever seen. A decade of extraordinary progress, a renewed sense of mission, and a vast frontier of opportunity in the AI supercycle. It's no surprise that optimism has surged. 42% of founders tell us it's become more attractive to start a company in Europe, a sharp jump from last year. And conditions for attracting talents are improving too. And there's more nuance to a story that we hear all too often. There are founders are abandoning Europe en masse. Well, in reality, more than 80% are building from here. In fact, for more than 1 in 2 founders, building from Europe is core to their mission. Not just from Europe, but for Europe. Not because it's convenient, but because it's home. And another third would also prefer to if the conditions were right. And who can blame the rest for choosing to scale where it's fastest? It's precisely for them that Europe needs to be worthy. Beyond founders, the gravitational pull for our emerging European champion has never been stronger. More of our best talent is joining European rocket ships. Europe's scale story is also changing fast. We now have more than 1,200 companies generating over 100 million in annual revenue or that are valued above $1 billion. We've passed 400 unicorns with 28 new billion-dollar companies this year alone, marking a record share of new unicorns created globally. We're proving that we can lead and compete head-to-head on the global stage. Take Replit and Lovable, 2 AI coding platforms defining the future of software. One from Silicon Valley, one from Silicon Valhalla. Lovable hit $1 billion valuation in months and became the fastest ever company to hit 100 million revenue, and it hasn't stopped there. Europe isn't following, we're setting the bar. From CASP AI in materials discovery to Helsing in defense to 11 Labs in audio. European strength will come from bold founders building technology that the world relies on because they're simply the best.
So the momentum's real, but the pace of change isn't evenly distributed. While our founders and builders hit fast forward, too many others are simply not keeping up. And here's the reality check. In 2023, $43 billion was invested in European tech. Last year, $41 billion. This year, $44 billion. So we're up, but essentially flat for 3 years straight, back to levels we last saw 6 years ago. Now, meanwhile, the US raised 4 times more in the same period, close to $500 billion over the last 3 years alone. Just let that number sink in. We know we're not short on ambition, but it's abundantly clear we're bootstrapping our future. We've built incredible companies, but we're still underweight our share of truly consequential ones that we measure in trillions. So while we can, we should, we do celebrate that we have now 500 billion plus tech companies here in Europe, the bar, of course, has been raised again. The US has $8 trillion companies. Now, if capital levels match the US, we'd have more decacorns and more trillion-dollar contenders too. But fewer companies get funded here. Even fewer make it to the large growth rounds that fuel global scale, and when they do, they're still smaller on average. And it's not because our founders are less capable, not because they're less ambitious, but because our capital still simply doesn't scale as fast as our talent. Because our operating environment still slows progress, and because our wider business culture is still too risk-averse.
We need to move fast to fix the underlying drivers of scale. Pension funds invest 3 times more in the US than in Europe, and the top allocators commit 2% of their AUM to venture. Here, they commit just 0.01% of total assets. Public procurement should be one of the most powerful tools that governments have to stimulate innovation, but here too, this instrument is blunt. In 2014, the EU set a target for 20% of all public procurements to go towards innovative solutions. More than a decade later, that number is stuck at 9%. And every year, there's $2 trillion of spent on IT from corporates and governments, almost all flowing out of the region. This spend is ready to be absorbed locally. Not because we mandate Europe, but because Europe's products are best. From fintech and enterprise software to energy and health, the mighty are rising all across Europe. Like Finland's Ura, on track to quadruple revenue this year to $2 billion. Or Revolut, who's storming towards its audacious goal of serving 100 million global customers. We'll always be compared to the US or China, and that's fine. The comparisons help define the benchmark, but they don't define us. Europe's future is ours to shape, and it won't look like anyone else's. Our survey tells a story that is equal part belief, equal part doubt. 35% of founders believe that Europe has what it takes to win. But the same share think that Europe's future will be shaped by others. That tension is our challenge. The crossroads that we now face, and it's on all of us to choose the path ahead and to address these challenges.
We've never been closer to becoming a true innovation powerhouse, and we know what it will take. 4 missions, simple, founder first, already on the agenda. Together, they describe the end state we're working towards. A Europe that's fast, frictionless, and fearless. Fix the friction. One market, one rulebook. Empower talent. A Europe that attracts, rewards, and retains the world's most ambitious and best builders. Fund the future. Deep, liquid, homegrown capital markets that back our champions from the first check to IPO and beyond, and champion risk, cementing a risk culture that is our foundational infrastructure, as critical as energy or capital. And here's the thing, every one of these missions is on the table in some shape or form. The political focus is there. What's left is design, delivery, and the will to do the hard things. And now the whole tech ecosystem is watching. Do policymakers really mean it this time? The first true test is imminent. The 28th regime is literally top of Europe's policy roadmap. But here too is another crossroads moment. The implementation will either fix the friction or it won't. The ecosystem has spoken. More than 18,500 of you have shaped a proposal that will fix your problems and that you will actually use as you scale. And now the ball's in the court of policymakers to deliver a win here. And when we do, it will be transformational for belief, for trust, for unity. Because imagine the alternative, the missed opportunity, the slow exodus of talent who give up and decide that scaling is simply easier and faster elsewhere. How do we look those in the eye and tell them we're serious if we fail to remove the structural barriers we've just told them we know are holding them back? Delivering this will show the whole ecosystem that this time it's serious. We're in it to win it. But it's also not the finishing line, it's the start line. As we said, more missions to fulfill, stock option reform, mobilizing institutional assets, a truly deep, liquid, single public capital market, procurement reform. Again, all of these now in discussion, in design. So this is not a time to be a bystander. This is our moment as an ecosystem to keep speaking up, showing up, convening, connecting. Sign the letter, join the side event, respond to the consultation, share the post, because every individual action like that, no matter how small, ultimately compounds at the scale of our ecosystem. As we've heard, Europe's first trillion-euro company, it's not a question of if, it's who's it going to be and how fast will they get there. And that timing question is also ours to shape. Let's not make European founders do it in hard mode. Let's fix Europe for our founders and for our future.
We leave you with some of Europe's most ambitious founders who are transforming the world. Thank you so much.
I'd love to see more boldness in Europe. Sometimes we think, okay, this is too crazy, I'm not going to do that. Yes, let's do crazy stuff. If you do like a big change, a crazy change, yeah, that's going to transform the world.
Take bigger bets, bets that can be completely defining of our future here in Europe.
Europeans want to be in the best companies in the world. And those Europeans are attracted by the greatest missions.
We really mean it when we say we are building intelligent robotic systems to augment humanity.
If we succeed with what we're trying to do, we will be able to get out of the climate crisis in the coming 2 decades.
Physics X is out to completely reinvent the most important industries in the world today.
Fusion is really the next phase of human evolution. It's the ultimate source of clean, abundant, safe energy.
We make the world's tallest autonomous robots. We're pretty much the neural system of warehouses around the world.
We are scaling on Earth and on space, an infrastructure that we've scaled globally. Nobody did that before, okay?
Europe has so many incumbent advantages, and the level of ambition feels like a generational moment.
Regulators in Europe need to move away from being referees of innovation to actually being enablers of innovation.
Every single simplification we do is going to pay dividends in the amount entrepreneurs can actually accomplish.
The decision makers are still afraid. We need more boldness, the spirit of the Renaissance.
Sovereignty starts with mindset. In Europe, we need to stop apologizing for being different and build on our own terms.